An ex-Shein employee warns us not to buy these items. And the reasons behind some of them are so strange, so quietly alarming, that you may never look at a $5 deal the same way again. Most people expect Shein to be fast and imperfect. Maybe a loose thread here, a funky zipper there. But according to someone who worked behind the scenes, some items go beyond cheap. They're rushed, poorly checked, made with unpredictable materials, or pushed through production so fast that quality control barely has time to blink. And that matters, because when a company drops thousands of new products every single day, the items that slip through the cracks don't just end up in a warehouse, they end up on you. This ex-employee didn't give a light warning. They gave a list. 8 specific items they say shoppers should avoid, each one more concerning than the last. Number 8 will make you rethink it's only a few dollars. Number 5 will stick in your mind the next time you browse. And number 1, they said they wouldn't touch it again, not even for free. So before you place your next Shein order, let's start the countdown and reveal the 8 items a former Shein employee begs you not to buy. Number 8, costume jewelry. We're starting this countdown with something that looks harmless, almost forgettable. Something millions of people toss into their cart without a second thought. Costume jewelry, rings, necklaces, earrings, anklets, the shiny little extras that cost less than a coffee and promise to complete the look. According to the Ex-Shein employee, this is one of the biggest traps on the entire site. Not because it's ugly, not because it's unfashionable, but because it's one of the most rushed, least regulated, and most chemically unpredictable categories Shein produces. Here's the problem. Costume jewelry moves fast. Trends change constantly. Margins are thin. And the pressure to keep prices low is intense. That combination creates a perfect storm. These items are often produced using mixed metals, mystery coatings, and low-cost alloys sourced from multiple suppliers, sometimes within the same batch. The employee explained that jewelry is rarely treated as a high-risk item during production. It's small, it's cheap, it's considered disposable, which means it doesn't always receive the same scrutiny as clothing or accessories that are expected to last longer. Quality checks focus on whether it looks right, not always on how it reacts with skin, sweat, heat, or time. That's why so many customers report the same issues over and over again. Rings turning fingers green, necklaces causing rashes, earrings irritating ears within hours. Not for everyone, but often enough to be a pattern. And here's where it quietly becomes more serious. Jewelry sits directly on your skin for long periods of time. It absorbs sweat, oils, perfume, and heat. When materials are poorly finished or coated cheaply, those substances don't just stay on the surface, they break down the metal underneath. That's when irritation starts. Sometimes immediately, sometimes after a few wears, when you least expect it. The ex-employee said costume jewelry was one of the categories with the highest return complaints, but also one of the least investigated, because most people don't return a $2 necklace. They just stop wearing it. The system doesn't flag it as a major issue. And the cycle continues. It's not that every piece is dangerous. It's that you have no real way of knowing which ones are safe and which ones were rushed through production with barely any oversight. And that's why this item lands at number 8. It's not the most shocking, but it's the one people underestimate the most. Because when something is cheap enough, we stop asking questions. But as we move down this list, the items get bigger, heavier, and far harder to ignore. Which brings us to number 7. Number 7, shoes. Shoes. Sandals, heels, boots, sneakers. Some of the most popular items on Shein, and according to the ex-employee, some of the most quietly problematic. From the outside, the appeal is obvious. Shoes are expensive everywhere else, so when you see trendy heels or chunky boots online for a fraction of the price, it feels like a win. But behind the scenes, shoes are one of the hardest fashion items to produce cheaply without cutting corners. And those corners, they don't show up in photos. Shoes are complex. They involve structure, weight distribution, adhesives, insoles, soles, stitching, and materials that need to work together. When production is rushed, and Shein's production is famously rushed, those systems don't always align. The ex-employee explained that footwear complaints came in waves. Entire batches would trigger customer feedback about broken heels, separating soles, unbearable discomfort, or shoes literally falling apart after one wear. And while some of those issues are expected in fast fashion, the frequency was what raised concern. One of the biggest problems? Adhesives. Many Shein shoes rely heavily on glue instead of stitching to keep costs and production time low. Under normal conditions, that might hold, but add heat, sweat, walking pressure, or moisture, and suddenly that glue starts failing. That's why so many people report soles peeling off, heels snapping, or straps detaching mid-wear. But the bigger issue isn't embarrassment, it's injury. Poorly structured shoes can throw off balance, strain ankles, and put stress on feet in ways people don't notice until later. Shoes with thin soles, uneven padding, or poorly aligned heels can cause foot pain, knee pain, and even back issues over time. And because they're cheap, people often keep wearing them, ignoring the discomfort because they were only $12. The employee also mentioned materials used inside the shoes, the parts you don't see, synthetic linings that don't breathe, insoles that trap heat and moisture, cheap foams that compress immediately, offering no real support. These aren't deal breakers for a single wear, but they become problems fast when shoes are worn repeatedly. And unlike a top or a dress, shoes don't just sit on your body, they carry it. Which is why the ex-employee's advice was blunt. Shoes are one of the categories where cheap can quietly become costly. If number 8 was about irritation, number 7 is about strain. And as we continue down this list, we're moving away from discomfort and toward items that raise far bigger red flags. Because number 6 isn't something you wear on your body, it's something that sits against it for hours at a time. Number 6, swimwear. Swimwear. Bikinis, one pieces, cover-ups, some of Shein's most viral, most reviewed, most reposted items. And according to the ex-employee, one of the categories that causes the most quiet regret once customers actually wear them. From the outside, Shein swimwear looks like a steal, bold colors, trendy cuts, influencer photos that make everything look flattering and effortless. And to be fair, some pieces do look good straight out of the package. That's not the issue. The issue is what happens after. Swimwear is one of the most technically demanding clothing categories to produce well. It has to stretch, snap back into shape, survive water, salt, chlorine, sun exposure, friction, and movement, all while sitting directly against sensitive skin. That's a tall order, even for premium brands. For ultra-fast fashion, it's a gamble. The ex-employee explained that swimwear production is often rushed, even more aggressively than regular clothing, because it's seasonal and trend-driven. Factories are pushed to deliver large volumes quickly. And when deadlines tighten, the first thing to suffer is fabric testing. That's why customers frequently report the same issues. Swimsuits becoming see-through when wet, elastic loosening after one swim, straps stretching out unevenly, padding shifting or folding in strange ways, and seams digging into skin. None of these problems are obvious in a mirror selfie. They show up at the beach, in the pool, in public. And then there's the fabric itself. Many Shein swimsuits use synthetic blends that prioritize color and stretch over durability and breathability. When those fabrics are poorly finished or dyed quickly, they can trap heat, hold moisture, and irritate skin, especially after hours of wear. That's where rashes, discomfort, and chafing complaints start coming in. The employee mentioned that swimwear returns were often emotional, not angry, embarrassed. People felt misled. Something that looked confident and flattering online turned stressful the moment it was actually worn in real conditions. And because swimsuits are often worn during vacations, pool parties, or special moments, the disappointment hits harder. No one wants to discover a quality issue halfway through a beach day. Swimwear isn't automatically bad, but it's one of those categories where Shein's speed works against the customer. What looks bold and trendy on screen doesn't always survive reality. And as concerning as number 6 is, number 5 raises the stakes even higher, because it involves clothing people trust for movement, support, and daily wear. Number 5, activewear and leggings. This is where the warnings start to sound less like buyer beware and more like please be careful. Activewear, leggings, sports bras, biker shorts. The items people wear to stretch, run, lift, lounge, and live in. According to the ex-employee, this is one of the categories customers assume is safe, and one of the categories most likely to disappoint in ways that matter. Activewear has one job: perform. It needs to stretch without tearing, support without cutting off circulation, stay opaque under pressure, and move with the body without shifting or slipping. And that requires careful fabric engineering, consistent stitching, and quality control that doesn't rush. But Shein's activewear is produced under the same speed-driven model as everything else, and that's where problems start. The ex-employee explained that many activewear pieces are designed to look like performance gear without being built like it. High-waisted fits, sculpting seams, compression-style cuts. All the visual cues are there, but underneath, the fabrics often lack the density and resilience needed for real movement. That's why so many customers report leggings that turn sheer when they squat, waistbands that roll down mid-workout, seams that pop during normal stretching, and bras that offer little real support. These issues don't always show up immediately. Sometimes they appear after a few wears, once the fabric has been stressed and washed. And then there's heat and sweat. Activewear sits close to the skin for extended periods, trapping warmth and moisture. When fabrics aren't properly tested for breathability or moisture wicking, they can hold sweat against the body, leading to discomfort, irritation, and in some cases, skin issues. People don't immediately connect to their clothing. The employee also mentioned that activewear complaints were often dismissed internally as fit preference or expectation mismatch, rather than structural problems. But when the same complaints appear again and again, see-through fabric, loss of compression, poor recovery, it stops being subjective. It becomes a pattern. The danger with activewear isn't just embarrassment, it's false confidence. People trust these clothes to support them during movement. When that support fails, it can affect posture, comfort, and even safety during exercise. And here's the key difference between number 5 and everything above it. People don't wear activewear occasionally. They wear it often, sometimes daily. That repeated exposure magnifies every flaw, which is why the ex-employee placed this category firmly in the top half of the list. And if number 5 is about performance failing under pressure, number 4 takes things a step further, into items people trust with visibility, coverage, and public confidence. And that's where the countdown starts to get uncomfortable. Number 4, formal dresses and special occasion. Wear formal dresses, event gowns, party dresses, birthday outfits, the items people buy for moments that matter. Weddings, graduations, dates, vacations, nights they've been planning for weeks. According to the Ex-Shein employee, this category causes some of the most intense customer reactions. Not because the dresses are always terrible, but because the stakes are higher. When a basic top disappoints, it's annoying. When a special occasion dress disappoints, it's devastating. The employee explained that formal wear is one of the most visually deceptive categories on the site. These items are photographed perfectly, clipped, pinned, steamed, styled, and lit to look structured, flowing, and luxurious. But behind the camera, the actual garment often relies on thin fabrics, minimal lining, and construction methods meant to mimic elegance without the materials needed to support it. That's why so many customers experience the same problems the moment they try these dresses on for real. Sheer fabric where they didn't expect it, awkward seams that dig in or sit strangely, zippers that snag or break, hems that hang unevenly, and silhouettes that collapse without professional styling. The ex-employee mentioned that returns for formal dresses often came with long explanations. Customers weren't just unhappy, they felt misled. The dress looked like a moment online. In real life, it felt like a compromise. And then there's timing. Formal dresses are usually bought with a deadline in mind. People don't order them just to see, they order them for an event that's already on the calendar. When the dress arrives late, doesn't fit, or falls apart after a single wear, there's rarely time to replace it. That stress is part of what makes this category especially risky. Another issue the employee raised was fabric behavior. Many formal dresses use shiny synthetics, mesh overlays, sequins, or delicate-looking materials that haven't been stress-tested for movement. Sitting, dancing, walking, even raising your arms, can reveal flaws that weren't visible standing still. And because these dresses are often worn for long hours, discomfort builds. Scratchy linings, stiff seams, and poor ventilation don't show up in a 5-minute try-on. They show up 4 hours into the night. Formal wear is where Shein's speed collides with expectation. The illusion works until it doesn't, which is why number 4 lands here. Not because these dresses never work, but because when they fail loudly. And if number 4 is about disappointment in moments that matter, number 3 moves into something even harder to ignore. Items that are worn constantly, washed frequently, and trusted to last. Number 3, denim, jeans, skirts, and jackets. Denim, jeans, denim skirts, jackets. Wardrobe staples people expect to survive years, not weeks. According to the Ex-Shein employee, denim is one of the categories where expectations and reality clash the hardest. Denim is deceptively complex. Good denim requires strong fibers, tight weaving, consistent dyeing, and careful finishing. It needs to hold its shape, soften over time, and survive repeated washing. That's expensive. And when denim is made fast and cheap, the shortcuts show, just not immediately. The employee explained that Shein denim often prioritizes appearance over structure. Stretch is added to mimic comfort. Thin blends are used to reduce cost and weight. Dye processes are sped up. The result? Jeans that look great on day 1 and change dramatically after a few wears. Customers frequently report denim stretching out permanently, losing shape at the knees, sagging at the waist, or shrinking unpredictably after washing. Some pieces fade unevenly, others twist slightly, causing seams to drift off-center. These aren't always defects. They're symptoms of rushed production. And then there's durability. Buttons pop off, zippers jam, stitching loosens, pockets tear. These aren't rare complaints. They're patterns. And because denim is worn so often, those flaws show up faster than people expect. The ex-employee also mentioned that denim returns were tricky internally. Jeans are bulky, expensive to ship back. Many customers simply keep them, wear them anyway, and quietly lower their expectations. The system doesn't always register that dissatisfaction. But here's the deeper issue. People rely on denim. It's not a trend piece, it's a foundation. When that foundation is weak, everything else feels off. And unlike a dress or a swimsuit, denim doesn't get a special occasion pass. It's worn repeatedly, in different conditions, through movement, sitting, walking, and long days. Every flaw compounds over time. The employee's warning wasn't dramatic. It was practical. Denim is one of the categories where Shein's price point and production speed are most obvious and least forgiving. By the time a customer realizes the jeans won't hold up, the return window is gone. The disappointment settles in quietly. And now, as we move into the final stretch of this countdown, we leave behind inconvenience and frustration, and step into items the ex-employee described as genuinely alarming. Number 2, electronic accessories and plug-in gadgets. Number 2 is where the warnings stop being subtle. Up until now, the risks have been easy to brush off. A bad fit, a ruined outfit, something that didn't last as long as you hoped. Annoying, yes, but manageable. This one isn't, because number 2 involves items people plug into their walls, leave running overnight, or use inches away from their face and hands, without ever questioning whether they should have been sold in the first place. Electronic accessories, phone, chargers, LED light strips, plug-in mirrors, heated eyelash curlers, USB-powered fans, cute little gadgets that feel harmless because they're small, trendy, and cheap. According to the Ex-Shein employee, this category made them uncomfortable in a way clothing never did. Here's why. Electronics aren't like fabric. When something goes wrong, it doesn't just tear or fade, it overheats, shorts out, sparks, or fails silently. That's why electronics usually require strict testing, certifications, and compliance checks before they're sold. But in ultra-fast online marketplaces, accessories often exist in a gray area. The employee explained that many electronic items are sourced from third-party suppliers and pushed live quickly to match trends. Speed is everything, and when speed is the priority, long-term safety testing becomes the first thing squeezed. That's why customer complaints in this category tend to follow the same pattern. Chargers that stop working after days, LED strips that flicker or get unusually hot, plug-in devices that smell faintly like burning plastic, gadgets that fail the moment voltage fluctuates. Individually, those complaints sound minor. Together, they suggest inconsistency. And inconsistency is the last thing you want with electricity. The most unsettling part? Many of these items are used casually, left plugged in, used near beds, wrapped around furniture, placed on desks next to laptops and drinks. People assume safety because the item arrived in a box, with instructions and a logo. The ex-employee's warning wasn't dramatic, it was practical. This is one category where cheap doesn't just mean disposable, it means unpredictable. And unpredictable electronics aren't just inconvenient, they're risky. Which is why number 2 lands here. But even that isn't the top of the list. Because number 1 isn't something you plug in. It's something you apply directly to your body. Number 1, cosmetics, makeup, and skin contact products. And then there's number 1, the item the ex-employee didn't hesitate on, the category they warned about immediately, the one they said they would never use, not casually, not occasionally, not even just to try. Cosmetics and skin contact products. Makeup, skincare, lip products, creams, serums, anything designed to sit on your skin for hours at a time. And this is where the warning hits hardest. Because unlike clothing, cosmetics don't just touch you, they absorb through pores, through lips, through repeated daily use. And according to the ex-employee, this category moves through the system with a speed that leaves very little room for caution. The issue isn't that every product is unsafe. It's that consistency is difficult to guarantee when products are launched rapidly, reformulated frequently, and sourced from multiple suppliers. Ingredients may vary, batches may differ, labels may not tell the whole story. The employee explained that cosmetics are one of the most complicated categories to manage responsibly because regulations vary widely by country, testing standards differ, and trends push constant reformulation. When production accelerates, oversight becomes harder to maintain. That's why customers report recurring issues, irritation, breakouts, reactions they didn't expect, products that smell or behave differently than anticipated. Not everyone experiences problems, but enough do that it becomes a pattern, not an anomaly. And unlike a bad top, reactions don't always show up immediately. Sometimes they appear after repeated use, sometimes weeks later, sometimes only when skin is stressed, sensitive, or compromised. The most alarming part, according to the ex-employee, is how casually these products are marketed. Bright packaging, playful names, influencer videos applying them without a second thought. The presentation makes them feel harmless, almost toy-like, but they're not toys. They're products people trust with their skin, their face, their health. And in a system designed for speed above all else, trust becomes the most fragile element. That's why this category sits at number 1. Not because it's guaranteed danger, but because the consequences of getting it wrong are far more personal, far longer lasting, and far harder to undo. And that's the item the ex-employee warned about most. If this list made you pause for a second, that's kind of the point. Fast fashion moves quickly, and most of the time we're just trying to keep up, not stop and think about what's behind the price tag. This isn't about saying, don't shop here, or making anyone feel bad. It's just about knowing what you're actually buying. So the next time something looks too good to be true, you know what questions to ask. If this video helped, send it to that friend who lives for Shein hauls. Or honestly, anyone who shops online a lot. And if you want more breakdowns like this, hit subscribe and tell us in the comments which brand you want us to look at next.